Let's talk about a feeling that has become, well, an epidemic in modern life. It's that sense of being completely and utterly stuck, a total paralysis of the will. And in this explainer, we're not just going to diagnose it, we're going to find the reboot sequence.
I mean, it is one of the most maddening feelings, right? The to-do list is sitting right there. The goal is crystal clear. You've got the skills, you've got the time. But it's like there's this invisible wall between your brain saying go and your body actually moving. It feels like a huge personal failure. But what if it's something else entirely? If that feeling sounds familiar, you are so far from being alone. You're not even in the minority. You're actually in the majority. This staggering number, 58%, represents the people who are right there with you.
Yeah, that's right. According to recent reports from Gallup, that's the percentage of the entire global workforce that's, well, hollowed out. They're showing up to work, but the lights are off. The spark is gone. And it's led to this new term, quiet cracking, where people don't quit their jobs, they just kind of break in place. And this isn't just about work, you know? It's a full-blown crisis of drive.
Okay, so let's kick things off with what I'm calling the paralysis paradox. We need to get a handle on the sheer scale of this. Because in a world with endless things to do, why do so many of us feel completely unable to act? So look at this. These numbers completely reframe the entire problem. This isn't just a bunch of people having a bad day. It's a systemic issue with a massive, and I mean massive, economic cost. We're talking $438 billion in lost productivity. When the majority of people are struggling, the problem isn't the people, it's the environment we're all swimming in. So if it's not a personal failure, what is it? The single most important step in fixing this is to stop calling it the wrong thing. This isn't laziness. This feeling has a real name, and it has a real biological basis. The real term for this is avolition. And it's not a lack of desire. No, it's a breakdown in the chain of command between wanting to do something and your body actually doing it. Think of it this way. You're on the couch, you're thirsty, the water is in the kitchen, but you physically cannot make yourself get up to get it. That's avolition. And avolition rarely shows up alone. It usually brings its buddy, anhedonia. This is the loss of pleasure. It's when things you used to love, listening to music, hanging out with friends, your hobbies, they just feel flat, gray. It's the loss of the why, you know? The reward at the end of it all just disappears. And this right here illustrates the difference perfectly. Avolition is the paralysis of action. Anhedonia is the collapse of the reward. One says, I can't start, and the other one whispers in your ear, and why bother anyway? Together, they create this perfect, inescapable trap of doing nothing. Okay, so if it's not a moral failing, what is it? What's actually happening inside your brain? Well, it turns out your body has this ancient safety protocol, like an emergency brake. And for a lot of us, that brake is just stuck in the on position.
It's something called the sickness behavior model. See, when our ancestors got an infection, their brains would totally shut down motivation. Why? To conserve every last bit of energy for the immune system to fight the bug. The problem is, our modern lives, full of processed foods, chronic stress, not enough sleep, they create this constant low-grade inflammation. And your brain, it can't tell the difference between a real infection and the stress of modern life. So it does the only thing it knows how to do. It pulls that emergency brake. You're not lazy. Your body is basically putting you in chemical quarantine.
And here's exactly how that brake works. It's a three-pronged attack on dopamine, your main motivation molecule. First, inflammation literally blocks the raw materials your brain needs to even make dopamine. Second, it stops the dopamine you do have from being released properly. And third, it makes your brain less sensitive to any rewards. So even when you finally do something, it doesn't even feel that good. It's a total system shutdown. And this brings us to something you hear a lot about, adrenal fatigue. But the science shows that's not really a thing. Your adrenals don't just run out of juice. What's really happening is HPA axis dysregulation. All that means is your brain has become resistant to its own stress hormones, like cortisol. The signal to wake up and get going is being sent, but your brain just isn't picking up the phone anymore. So understanding the problem is the first big step. But here's the good news. This is a reversible state. The system can be restarted. And honestly, the best way to see how is to look at the stories of people who have actually found their own reboot sequence. So let's take Jennifer. She was a therapist who hit a wall of burnout so hard she went into a total freeze state. She learned pretty fast that you can't just power through it. The solution wasn't more hustle, it was radical, totally unproductive rest. She had to create a deep sense of safety to signal to her nervous system that the danger was gone. Only then could that freeze response start to melt. Then you've got Mark, the classic gifted kid who just crumbled when he got to college and things actually got hard. His whole identity was tied up in being effortlessly smart, so the first sign of struggle paralyzed him. His comeback didn't happen because he tried harder. No, it came when he ditched his ego and built external systems, like a specific study space and a rigid schedule that did the heavy lifting his depleted willpower just couldn't do anymore. And finally, there's Alex. His paralysis wasn't from stress. It was from too much pleasure. Hours and hours of scrolling, gaming, and junk food had just fried his brain's reward circuits. For him, the cure was a dopamine fast, cutting out all the cheap, easy digital stuff. And after a pretty brutal withdrawal, the real world actually started to feel rewarding again. An apple tasted incredible. A walk was actually engaging. Okay, so inspired by these stories and all the science we've talked about, let's build a practical toolkit. These are real evidence-based things you can do to start your own reanimation process, like today. First things first, let's address the hardware, your body. You can fight that inflammation directly with what you eat. That means focusing on things like omega-3s, which your brain cells love, L-tyrosine, which is a direct building block for dopamine, and polyphenols from things like berries and dark chocolate. It also means you've got to be careful and avoid pro-inflammatory seed oils that are hidden in so many processed foods. Now, for a really powerful biological reset, check out this chart. A cold shower or a cold plunge has been shown to boost your baseline dopamine by 250%. And here's the key. Unlike caffeine, this isn't a sharp spike followed by a crash. It's a sustained lift that can last for hours, giving you this solid foundation of mood and drive for your whole day. Okay, now let's talk about the software, the psychological tricks. When starting anything feels absolutely impossible, use the 5-minute rule. Just pick that one task you're dreading and commit to doing it for only 5 minutes. The real secret is step 4. You have to give yourself genuine, honest permission to stop when that timer goes off. What this does is it lowers the barrier to entry so much that your brain just can't fight it. And what you'll find is, more often than not, once you're moving, you'll just keep going. And this brings us to maybe the most important truth about motivation. We have the whole sequence completely backward. We sit around waiting to feel motivated before we act. But the neuroscience is crystal clear. Action comes first. Action is the spark plug that creates the feeling of motivation. You literally have to act your way into feeling better. And look, if you take only one thing away from this entire explainer, please let it be this. This feeling of being stuck, of being lazy, unmotivated, it is not a character flaw. It is a physiological state. It's a biological mode your body has switched into. It is not who you are, it's just where your system is set right now. And because it's a setting, that means you can change it. You have the tools now to cool the inflammation, to reset the dopamine circuits, and to trick your mind into getting started. You now know how to manually restart the engine. So the only real question left is, where are you going to drive?